Hello and welcome back to my OOTP 20 series here with the Toronto Blue Jays. So as you can see, things are not going quite as planned. We are 30 and 28, so not awful, but we were just off to a scorching start. 17 and 9 in April, but in May, really fell back. You can see 11 and 17 there. Overall, if you take a look at our kind of team numbers, you can see that we are 7th in the American League in on-base plus slugging, and we are 7th in terms of earned run average. Again, our defense is just truly terrible, and we're not stealing a lot of bases this year, which is strange because we stole a lot last year, but I mean, we've been average. That's what you should take away from that. And if we take a look at our Pythagorean record, in fact, you can see we're supposed to be 29 and 29, and we're 30 and 28. What does that mean in our division? Well, you can see that the Orioles are actually playing quite well this year. I'm not sure if that's kind of mostly luck or if they're actually good, but they weren't supposed to be good. And then you can see the Yankees and the Rays just ahead of us there. And then the wild card standings, we are 1.5 games back of that second wild card spot. And in fact, the first wild card spot as well. So, I mean, we're right in the thick of things. We can definitely get back in it, and we could even catch the Orioles as well. But if we take a look at some of the individual numbers, you can see Chris Sale doing Chris Sale things, even at the age of 33. The strikeouts and the walks right where they should be. And a similar ERA as last year, Luzardo. For Luzardo, I'm liking the looks of this. You can see the strikeout rate is a little bit higher this year, which is good. And, walks and home runs are about the same. He's having a pretty solid season. Kikuchi's having a bit of a bounce back. It's certainly not quite where he was maybe 2 years ago, but that strikeout rate definitely up from last year. Not giving up a lot of home runs either, which is good. I don't know if that's really going to continue. But, yeah, I mean, I'm happy with Kikuchi. Nothing spectacular, but kind of what you would expect. Luciano, unfortunately, he is kind of the guy that has not done very well. Still a lot of strikeouts, and in fact, more strikeouts than previous years. And the walk rate, maybe it's a little bit higher, but certainly not anything to be overly concerned about. He has, however, given up a lot of home runs, and that makes sense because his movement rating is pretty low. Overall, though, the BABIP is also higher, so I think some of this is going to come back down to earth, but no doubt it's a little bit frustrating to see. And you might be wondering, where is our fifth starter? Well, if we take a look at the injured list, Alex Reyes is on the shelf for 5 weeks. Now, in the starting rotation, mind you, he was doing quite well, striking out 12.3 guys per 9 innings. Now, he is walking 3.7 guys per 9. That's bad, but it's not horrible, so I think he will be back in the starting rotation when he is healthy. But for now, we have Perez in there, who really the biggest concern is his lack of stamina. And as you can see, he's not really going very deep into games. He also has not, unfortunately, been very effective when he's been on the mound. So, oh well, I mean, I've kind of always viewed him as kind of a sixth starter. It's interesting that Bob Melvin didn't decide to put Andrew Triggs in the rotation. Triggs has been not too bad, and in fact, I might, at this point, I might want to put Perez back in the bullpen, just kind of force him into a reliever spot, and I might use Andrew Heaney as a follower and just see if that kind of works out. I actually think I got a little bit confused with Andrew Heaney and Andrew Triggs, so I actually want Andrew Heaney to be the follower. All right, there we go, all set. So anyway, we will see how that goes, and then offensively, as you can see, it is you off to a really hot start, on pace for a 7.5 win season. A lot of that, of course, coming from the defense. Even in center field, he has a very high zone rating. And although he doesn't hit for a high average, he's on pace for 30 home runs. You got to be happy with that when you take into account his defense. Bo Bichette, not quite the year he had last year, but again, I was kind of expecting him to have a 3 to 4 win season every year. He's on pace for 4 wins, so just about where you would expect him to be. Going down the list here, Reese McGuire, Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is kind of our DH so far this year. I actually designated for assignment Kai because he was off to another just horrific start. And surprisingly, he accepted going to AAA, so he's just going to sit out there. Maybe he can figure out his swing. And in fact, he is turning it around a little bit in AAA. And I mean, if he can hit the ball, he's good defensively, so I'm not opposed to calling him back up. But for now, I think I'm going to keep things the way they are, at least right now. Anyway, Cavan Biggio, continuing to be a very solid player over at second base. I'm not surprised that the batting average has fallen a little bit. If you just take a look at his contact and avoid K ratings, especially with his speed ratings, you just don't really expect this guy to be motoring down the base paths and beating out singles. But he does walk a ton, and he has some power, and at second base, that's a pretty good combination. I think another thing to note is Ryan Zimmerman. He's actually hit a couple more home runs since I looked at him before, but I kind of dealt with the 218 batting average considering he hit 32 home runs. This year the power's a little bit down as well, so I think he'll really have to do better because he's certainly not there for defense reasons. If he's not going to hit, then I'd rather have Kai because at least Kai is good defensively at first base. And then I also called up Jordan Groshans, simply because we kind of needed somebody at third base, and I feel like he is the third baseman of the future. Obviously, the offensive numbers so far aren't that great. He's certainly been turning it around. He's had a couple home runs recently, so I'll at least keep an eye on him. It doesn't mean he'll be up for the rest of the season, but figured I would give him at least a cup of coffee, and you can see Zach Granite as well. Not that he's been hitting too often in the lineup, but when he has been hitting, it has not been good. Again, though, I'm not really making these day-to-day decisions about who to play, so kind of is what it is. But with that said, we are here at the first-year player draft, so let's jump right into it. We have the 31st overall pick after all those years of having very high draft picks. This is the first year where that is not going to be the case, and it looks like in the draft, this Chris Carroll is the guy to get. My goodness. Unfortunately, we're definitely not going to get him, but that is the type of player you center your franchise around. So anyway, here in the first round, it's an interesting catcher here, 22 years old. The OSA ratings are quite low on him, though. And in fact, we should see what our scouting director recommends, and he does recommend that catcher. I am not necessarily convinced. I love the way that this center fielder looks, Gabe Lebrec. OSA ratings really like him. I love the speed and the contact and avoid K ratings. Very good personality as well. Those outfield range. In general, I've seen defensive ratings improve for really young guys like this. Another guy to take a look at is Phil Haymaker. Again, good personality ratings, really good range in the infield. Errors could be a problem for him, though. For outfield, I never really worry about the errors, but infield, it is definitely a point of concern. And he's certainly got some good contact and avoid K ratings, but he doesn't have the speed to really, make those as important as they otherwise would be. Let's take a look at the pitchers, too, especially the starting pitchers. It looks like this Juan Alvarado is kind of the guy that you would think about, but he's fragile and his control ratings are low, so I don't really think he's quite the guy that we would be looking for. Like the looks of Eric Phillips, he's extremely young, though. And again, I don't know if that changeup is really going to develop. Yeah, there's Nate Dolan. Again, I'm just not blown away by the pitchers, so I think I'm going to be sticking to a batter, at least for this first pick. And I don't know, I just think taking a look at things, given the personality ratings and everything, I think I'm going to go with Gabe Lebrec. Oh, he's impossible. I didn't notice that. Okay, well, given that he's impossible, I think we're going to take a risk on somebody else here, especially because he could just fall to the next round anyway. Okay, I think I'm going to go with Phil Haymaker then. Kevin Malinsky is who our scouting director recommends. Maybe him. He is good defensively. I don't know. Is this who's going to take over Reese McGuire? He's a ground ball hitter. I don't think I like him. I think I'm going to go with Phil Haymaker. I'm going to hope that Lebrec falls to the next round, and I just think I'm going to take him even if he is an impossible signing. He is still on the board. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Gabe Lebrec. I like those ratings. I like the speed. It's going to be on me to sign him. So we get another pick here in the second round. Let's see who our scouting director recommends that we take. He wants us to grab John Light. Durable guy. I do really like his ratings. I think that's a good, solid pick. So we're going to grab him in this second round. Now we are on to the third round. I might take a look at some of the pitchers again. You can see Jimmy Tosh. Jami. He's an easy signability guy. That's always good. But yeah, let's take a look at the pitchers. Eric Phillips. Unfortunately, he's an impossible signing, so the idea that we're going to get two impossible guys, forget it. Okay, yeah, I don't mind Jimmy Tosh. I think that's who we're going to grab here in the third round. The next round here, our scout wants us to grab Luis Periscad, and he is a starting pitcher. I don't really think he's a major league quality type guy, and I have been having my eye on this Chris Franks. Not that he's spectacular, but I really like this turn double play rating along with the infield range. I feel like at second base, that could be a pretty good set of skills. And offensively, I don't really know that he's going to be good enough, but it's someone who I've had my eye on. He's also a very easy signing. So I think we're going to grab him in the 4th round. So next, our scout is saying we should grab Jonathan Bodrero, and I have to agree, really like his personality ratings. I'm about to sneeze. Just kidding, I guess. No, I'm not. So, yeah, good offensive ratings, pretty decent speed, pretty decent outfield range. I feel like that's a good guy to go with, especially for a later round pick. So I'll pick him up. Again, our scout is wondering about Luis Periscat. I mean, I'd think about it if our scout was a little more high on him. I will say, though, if we take a look at the starters again, yeah, okay, that impossible guy was drafted anyway. I would think about someone like Tommy Mitchell. I don't think that changeup is going to be quite good enough, but he's somebody I could see taking a flyer on in a later round. Just like continually, I'm not seeing good pitching. I think I'm going to start grabbing tools guys. So with that in mind, Chris Kent, kind of another guy. His power is just not there though. His error is horrible. I mean, there's no reason to really grab him actually. Yeah, maybe Josh Pierce. I mean, he's kind of the guy that seems to stand out a little bit maybe. So let's try him, see how he turns out. And normally I don't just sim ahead, but I think after this pick I might do that. Randy Taylor, actually, yeah, our scout found a really interesting guy because I really like these ratings. Obviously the OSA not as high on him, but hey, good defense, good speed, good offense. You got to be happy about that. I'll definitely take him as a 7th round pick. But with that in mind, I think I'm going to sim the rest of the draft. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay, so we are back here on July 2nd for the international free agent signing period. We're playing a little bit better, not a lot better, a little bit better. And I signed all the draft picks, so that was good. Even that impossible guy, and we should have $5 million to spend. So we won't have a problem like we did, I say last year. I think it was last year where everyone was just asking for a ton of money. Now, unfortunately, I don't see anyone that good. I mean, if we don't see anyone, though, I'm going to spend this extra money, like, on our team. I like the look of Gattaca, but not the look of his fragility there in terms of the injury department. Yeah, I don't really see anyone, so I'm wondering, we've got, yeah, it's a little under 5 million. I don't really know this, or ticket prices are way too high. Crud. Yeah, I don't see anyone, so I think I'm going to hold on to the money that we have, and we'll maybe use it in a trade or something. I should give you guys a standings update quickly, though. So we are 7.5 back of the Orioles, who are really running away with the division. In fact, they have like the 2nd best record in baseball, so I think they really are a force to be reckoned with. Let's see here. Yeah, they've got a really good Pythagorean record, so they're actually a very good team. But if we take a look at our wild card standings, we are the 2nd wild card team right now. 2 games ahead of the Astros, 4 games ahead of the Rays. So things definitely could be worse. But anyway, I'm going to sim ahead through the All-Star game, and then maybe we'll do some deadline deals. We'll have to see. Well, we have our first major arm injury of the season. This is the guy, of course, if you remember, who we... For some reason, I claimed him off of waivers. I don't even have any memory of doing this, but he was costing us $8.5 million this season. Actually wasn't pitching too bad, but unfortunately, he is down for the count. So I don't think we will be seeing him again. He'll be released in the offseason. I got to say, I'm running out of names to call up. We're going to go with Sean Reed-Foley. That's actually not a bad guy to call up. But after this, we're kind of out. And we will be getting some people back soon, I believe. Alex Reyes has been on the deal with a sprained ankle for more than 2 months, and it's going to be another 3 weeks till he's back. So that's a while to be out for a sprained ankle. I feel like if it was broken, he'd be back sooner. Okay, so we have made it to the All-Star game. I should actually sim ahead a day to see what happened in the All-Star game. So, yeah, Gilbert Ruiz was the MVP of the All-Star game. So the National League wins out there. And let's see who made the All-Star team. So you can see Yusei Kikuchi. Sorry, it's jumping all over the place here. But yeah, Yusei Kikuchi and All-Star. I don't know how this is going to hold up long-term. His Ks per 9 have unfortunately fallen again. But for now, I will take it. Chris Sale, also an All-Star, kind of an opposite world here. where maybe that ERA is a little bit higher than what you would expect given the strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, he's been really excellent. And then on the offensive side, we have three All-Stars, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who is really playing quite well recently. Bo Bichette, also an All-Star. And then our third All-Star was Yu in center field. Interested to see in AAA how Kai is doing, if he is continuing to kind of develop. And yeah, the answer is definitely yes. So I think with those infield ratings, and given that Ryan Zimmerman, I believe, is still struggling, and that is indeed the case, I think I'm going to call up Kai again. So we actually did a bit of a switcheroo. I sent down Ryan Zimmerman to AAA just to see if he can figure out his swing. Maybe that'll help him. And I did keep Zach Granite on the roster, but he's the guy who's kind of on the hot seat. I guess really it's him and Teoscar Hernandez. Both of them are really just playing terribly, and Zach Granite in particular, although I kind of have liked his defensive ratings, it hasn't really been enough to propel him to kind of an average player. And you can see his offense just over the last 3 years has kind of stayed pretty much exactly the same. With that said, I think I'm going to take a look at the trading block because we might want to make a move here. We've got a little bit of money to spend, not a ton of money, but, $8 million on the books. There's less than like a third of the season left, so we could really pay for somebody. Okay, so I found a deal that we're going to do. We're going to get Will Smith from the Mets. He's only signed through the rest of the season, and, he's been pitching well out of the bullpen for a number of years now. Very good strikeout to walk ratio numbers. He is going to give up some home runs, which is obviously an issue. We're going to be sending back a starting pitching prospect, Daniel Lloyd, who, I don't think he'll be anything, but he's got some at least intriguing numbers. Our scout isn't that high on him. He's had good ERAs in the minors, but he's not striking out a ton of guys, so I don't really feel too bad about giving him up. I think he was a 16th round pick last year, and I was going to give them Juan Ramos as well. I'm actually not going to do that, because looking at Lloyd, he's a little bit better than I thought he was, and it's really just half a season of a reliever. Teams don't really get that much in return for something like that, at least anymore. There's, of course, like the Chapman trade. That was kind of an exception. But anyway, that's what we're going to do to get Will Smith. Okay, so we are here on July 28th. Let's take a look at the standings. Obviously, we're very behind in the division race. In the wild card race, we're half a game ahead of the Astros. This sounds like last year. The Yankees, thankfully, are very far back, but it's really going to be a three-team race for the wild card, it looks like. And I'm not necessarily convinced that we can stay in this race. Okay, so we are going to be getting Christian Yelich. Keep in mind, we're going to have him for half a season, but I was able to reduce the terms of the trade a little bit, and this is what's going to make me do it. So we're going to be sending away Junior Fernandez, obviously someone who has been a really good relief pitcher option for us. A lot of strikeouts this year, has cut down on the walks as well. I think there's no doubt he's a very good relief pitcher. I don't think necessarily that he'll be this good in the future, but he definitely could be. We're also going to be sending away Nico Horner. He's someone who we got in a trade with the Cubs a while ago. He's been playing a little bit better this year, but overall at the big league level, he hasn't quite been able to put it together. You can see even in the minor leagues, he hasn't really shown a ton of success. And I think he's one of those people where the ratings look a little bit better than what he will end up being. The other guy that we're sending is Yusei Kikuchi. So, veteran guy. He's been playing really well this year. Actually just came off of a really good start against the Yankees. But the strikeout rates just have been falling, and they've ticked up a slight amount since the last time we checked in. But they're certainly not the same as they were with Seattle. I just don't think he's going to keep giving up so little home runs, which has just been key to his success this season. So this will be a big get. I think it's really needed for our push to the postseason. So we're going to pull off this trade. And because we sent away Kikuchi, we're now going to have to get a starting pitcher in Marco Gonzalez. He's been someone who's been somewhat consistent for Seattle over the last 2 years. He's basically who will have the rest of the season. And after that, he goes to arbitration. So we can deal with that when the time comes, but he's just kind of a stopgap. And we will be sending over Alejandro Kirk. For a catcher, he's got really good offensive ratings, but these defensive ratings just aren't going to cut it. And that's why I don't really have a huge problem letting him go. You kind of see a lot of catching prospects like that, and I just never see their defensive ratings really ever get any better. And now that we have Yelich, we are going to be in talks with him to maybe give him an extension. We'll have to take a look at that. Yeah, this just looks like a much deeper lineup with Yelich. We've still got Smith at DH, and Groshans has been turning around as well. He's now an above-average offensive player, no question. It's really going to be the pitching staff that we are going to have to figure out. But Gonzalez does slot into that rotation, and we'll see how he compares to Kikuchi. I think Kikuchi was being pretty lucky with the home run ball this year. That's why I didn't have as big of a problem giving him up. And that's part of why you kind of stack up on the depth. Like getting people like Nico Horner is so that you can, put it all together and get someone like Yelich. Before I end the episode, I'm going to see if Yelich is open to discussing an extension here, and he is, but my goodness. Wow, that is an incredible amount of money, so I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, but anyway, shaking things up here at the end of the episode. So we've upgraded our bullpen. We've got Will Smith. Our starting rotation, I think we've at least kind of got three guys, being Sale, Luzardo, and Luciano, who I do feel very comfortable with in the postseason. Hopefully they all stay healthy. We'll see how Heaney does the rest of the way. And remember, we're also going to get back Alex Reyes at some point, actually in one day. So we'll see how he does the rest of the way as well. And we'll have Triggs coming back at some point. I guess he's got elbow inflammation. But anyway, that is going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys hopefully in September, hopefully in the postseason, but we will see. Oh well.